Hi, I'm going to show you how to make this part of the flute where the sound goes through. My flutes have a mouthpiece, but you don't need it. If I put that right there, so let's just short that hole, I can blow. I can just blow in this end and make just as good a sound as with the mouthpiece in. Okay, this is a G flute, but I'm showing you how to make this flat area right here, and how to make one of these to put on there so that the air can go from this hole through a small channel into that hole. The channel is going to look about like you can just see a very small channel right there. So what we're going to do is scrape a piece of round pipe down to a flat area, and it's going to be just that long. Okay, I'm not making a real flute. I don't have a full section, but this is long enough for me to show you what I want to do. To make this collar that you put on here for the sound chamber, actually for the sound channel, you can use a piece of 1-inch PVC pipe and then just cut a slit in it like that. That makes it so it expands big enough to go over a piece of 3/4 inch. Or if you don't have a piece of 1-inch and you bought a piece of PVC from the hardware store, they come in 20-foot lengths, and this is the normal thickness, but on the end of each 20-foot length they have a piece like this that flares out so it can be hooked to the next section. I think that fits a little looser than the 1-inch PVC, but I think it'll probably work. So anyway, what you have to do first is cut that off. I'm lucky enough to have a vise, which makes doing things like this a little easier. Actually, I got a table saw, but you may not, so I'm going to show you how to just do it with a hacksaw. Okay, I got it off. It's a little rough, so I take a file and I just smooth the corners of that around a little bit like that. I'm not going to do it all the way. And then on the inside, just if you have a round file, just take the edge off so it's kind of smooth. But now you'll see that'll fit on, suppose this is my flute, that'll fit on there pretty good. Matter of fact, it fits kind of tight. So I am going to go ahead and make a slit in the back side here, just to give it a little bit of flexibility. Okay, I do this on the table saw too, and I make a pretty a wider gap. But since this is already a little bit loose, it doesn't have to be very wide. I suppose if you don't have a vise, you can probably still do this by hand, but it's probably going to be a little harder, but let's see. Well, I had it started already in the vise, but you see that went through there pretty easy, and that just closed right up. You've got to be careful not to pinch yourself with that gap. Now that opens a little bit, so when you put it on there, it can open and spread how much it needs to do. So now what we're going to do is make a flat area like this. So I'm just going to measure this one. It's got to go, your collar's got to be long enough to cover the back end of this hole that comes out of the slow air chamber that you blow into. So, and then it's got to be able to come just short of this hole, which is called the true sound hole. I can just measure. I've got it just under 1 inch between the back of that hole. You can't have any air escaping out the back end. So, but see, this is long enough since it's 1.5 inches, so I've got over 1/2 inch to spare there. It'd be nice if you cut this off nice and square and make it look nice, but for this demonstration I just showed you how to do that quickly. Okay, now to make that flat area, I noticed that it's about 10 millimeters or 1 centimeter wide, and at that width that'll give you just a little bit of a tunnel under there for the air to go through. So to make that, what I use, I've tried different things. Okay, I flattened that area, but I just realized that the camera went off a bit, so I'm going to measure an area 1.5 inches down from the end of the tube, and then another 1.5 inches, which would be right there. So I want to make my flat area between these marks right here. That'll be covered by that. We'll make a hole here and another hole back about right there. This is really nice to have a vise for this. Okay, now it's important not to scrape past that end. So I'm going to draw my scraper from there forward. And you see how that just takes that off? Measure that. We were 1 centimeter across, and that's about where we are there. And there, it's ideally what you'd like is for this to be the same width the whole way, and I'll work on it a little bit and see if I can make that happen, but given that I have a short length of pipe here, it might not be too easy. It's not too critical back here on the ends or on the front there. It's just the space in between where the air is going to travel through that channel that needs to be consistent. Okay, anyway, there's a flat area on there. Could be better, it could be straighter, but if you make it too wide, then your depth of your opening is going to be wider, and you want it to be about like that right there. So make this 1 centimeter wide.